Hi everyone, so this video is going to be a DIY beauty brows video because I keep getting tons and tons of questions from you all about my brows and how to do brows and that kind of thing, and I'm just going to kind of take you through all my tips and steps, and yeah, I apologise if I sound a bit bunged up. I've got a little bit of a cold coming on, I think, and the lighting's a little bit weird as well. I look like I've got a really dark body and pale face, but I think it's just a reflection of the monitor. But anyway, yeah, I am obsessed with brows. I think brows are kind of the unsung heroes of the face because they really frame your face and really give your face structure. And generally, the natural shape of your brow is the kind of best way to shape your brow. So if you have got quite a high arch, there's no point in trying to make you have straight brows. Or if you have got very arched brows, it's silly to kind of want them to be rounder. You need to just really work within the natural shape of your brow because that will be the most flattering for your face. And that'll just kind of really frame your eyes and frame your features. And I think in some cases it can make your face look slimmer as well, which I think is really important. So yeah, I'm going to come a little bit close to the camera and kind of take you through a few different steps of brow grooming and that kind of thing. So the first thing to remember with brows, I'm going to even put my hair back so you can really concentrate. Oh. Okay, so the first thing you want to remember with brows is, like I said, you go with a natural shape, and for plucking and for removing hair and kind of tidying up your brows, I think it was very fashionable a few years ago to have very thin brows, but definitely now brows on the thicker side are much more fashionable, and it's a look that's much nicer in my opinion, even though I was guilty of having a tadpole brow. But making sure that your brows, I'm looking down just because I'm kind of looking at the shape of my brows, but making sure you follow the natural shape is the most important thing. So my brows are really quite high arched, and another thing, your brows are not the same. There's that saying that brows are sisters, not twins. It's so true. Brows are not exactly identical. I know that this one is quite higher uply arched than this one, so you need to kind of try and trick that with makeup and that kind of thing. And yeah, so my brows are quite thick, they are dark, but the hairs are quite kind of sparse, if you can see, and I use tweezers and scissors, and occasionally wax, and I'll explain it in a minute. So using scissors like this, so the tiny little nail scissors are really great, and tweezers. These are just a really old pair of tweezers, but I love them. They're the best tweezers ever. And I think you need to find some with quite a kind of thin tip, but not too pointy. If you can see the tip of these, it's really perfect in my opinion. Not the kind of thicker ones. And you really need to just make sure you're getting the unwanted hairs from the right areas. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you how to just follow the natural shape of your brows. So if I come a little bit closer right here and show you. Now start plucking the hairs from the bottom because that's always easiest. So you just start plucking hairs as far down as you can. I haven't got that many really anymore because I've been plucking them for years. Whatever you do, if you're a first timer, don't shave them, don't do anything like that. If you're afraid of pain, then do it after you've had a shower because the hot water kind of opens up the pores and makes it a little bit easier, but I don't think brows really hurt that much anyway. So yeah, just start by following the natural shape, always going outwards just like this. And once you've kind of got a fine line and a shape that you're quite happy with, then it's time to tackle the middle. If you get the kind of very pale kind of fluffy hairs in between, you can just leave them, but if you don't like them, then it is really easy to just wax them. And what I do is I buy the wax strips, and I'm going to show you a tutorial of how to tweeze your brows and everything. This is just kind of a chit chat, but I get the wax strips, cut them into the right shape and just wax in between because I find it's the easiest way. And sometimes if you want to wax here as well, that can kind of work quite well as well. There's really shadowy, isn't there? That can work quite well too. But when it comes to shaping your brows, once you've got them into a shape that you like, not everyone has to fill their brows in. Some people don't, and they're kind of very, very lucky. I think everyone looks a little bit better with a little bit of shading though. And you need to make sure you have a brow tamer because that is really, really important. And what I do is I just brush my brows into shape like this. Brush them upwards kind of thing. And then my favourite brow shade is this matte brown shade by Benefit, which is dark brown. Now I know that if you've got really dark brows, you'll want to go for like a black or something because you'll think that the hairs are black. Don't. That's one of the biggest mistakes you can make, because actually the shape of the hairs, because it's kind of quite dense, you do get a little oilier in that area, and the oil makes the colour look darker. So if you use black, it will just appear even more darker and look really harsh and false and horrible. So I use a little angled brush like this, a really fine one, to fill in my brows, and I'm just going to show you how I think the best way to fill in your brows is. I think you always need to start from the centre, and that's normally where you get the most sparse, and just start layering the colour, kind of really taking it towards the outer edge and just really making sure you get all the little tiny gaps. But you want to do it in really light feathery strokes and put the tiniest amount of product onto your brush, and then you can start working your way inwards, because the inwards part is the kind of harder part where it tends to look a little bit falser. And I do get a lot of questions from people saying, what do you think about penciling in your brows? That can be fine. I just personally think shadow looks a lot softer and a lot more natural. So like I said with the other one, again, just really do it in feathery light strokes. Just fill in all the little tiny gaps. And you can kind of give your brows a much more polished, better shape. I don't like to kind of apply much in the inner corners kind of thing, in these areas, because I think it just looks better if you don't. But I then brush through my brows again, like I said. And a really cool tip that I always do is to use like an old mascara wand and some hairspray. And what I do is I take like an old mascara wand, spray a little bit of hairspray on it from a distance, let it dry for a couple of seconds, and just run it through your brows to keep them in place and keep the colour locked in. And that way your brows will look neat and groomed and tidy all day long. So then just brush it through your brows. And it kind of adds a little bit of texture as well, which is quite nice. And there you go. If there are any other kind of tips and things like that that I can think of while I'm editing the video, then I will pop it in the description box for you. But I'm pretty sure I covered everything. I'm really hating this lighting. Pretty sure I have covered everything. And if you have any questions or anything like that, then definitely put them in the comments below. And like I said, I'm going to do a whole video about how to tweeze and wax your brows and that kind of thing. But this is just how to kind of groom and neaten up your brows. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.